He worked late every evening, mopping floors in the silent corporate building long after employees went home. Daniel never complained. Bills waited, diapers needed buying, and 3 little girls depended on him more than sleep ever could. The triplets, Lily, Mara, and June, believed their father fixed the whole world. They never noticed his worn shoes or tired eyes, only the warm smile he forced whenever they hugged his knees. Daniel's boss, Miss Harrington, watched him often from the glass office upstairs. She was wealthy, precise, and feared by staff, yet strangely gentle whenever Daniel passed her hallway at night. She once tried starting a conversation near the elevator. He nodded politely but hurried away, thinking she only checked his cleaning schedule and performance. Another evening, she offered him tea from the company kitchen. Daniel refused kindly, explaining his daughters waited home and buses stopped running early. Her expression changed, almost disappointed. Daniel assumed he had offended a powerful woman and worried briefly about losing his only stable job. Weeks passed with silent glances across polished marble floors. She lingered near him more often, asking small questions about his children and their school. He answered shortly every time. He believed kindness from bosses usually came before requests, overtime shifts, or unpaid extra responsibilities. Ms. Harrington never asked for extra work. Instead, she quietly placed snacks near his cleaning cart for the girls and said they were leftovers from meetings. Daniel returned them the next day embarrassed. He explained he didn't accept favors and preferred earning everything honestly. That night she looked unusually hurt. Daniel misunderstood again, thinking wealthy people disliked being refused generosity by someone poor. At home, the girls giggled over homework. They often asked why their father never invited friends or co-workers for dinner. He always changed the subject gently. Trust, after his late wife's death, felt heavier than any bucket of water he carried upstairs. Months later, a storm struck the city. Power flickered across the office building while Daniel finished polishing the lobby alone. Unexpectedly, Ms. Harrington remained in her office after midnight. Her driver couldn't reach flooded streets, so she waited quietly upstairs. She approached Daniel again, this time holding 2 cups of coffee. She insisted he rest a moment because the elevator stopped working during lightning. He hesitated but finally accepted the drink. For the first time, they sat together on the reception sofa under emergency lights. She asked about his wife carefully. Daniel explained illness had taken her suddenly, leaving him afraid of depending on anyone again. Her voice softened as she shared her own loneliness. Despite wealth, she returned each night to an empty house echoing through long hallways. Daniel listened but remained guarded. He thanked her and returned to work, thinking. Emotional conversations with employers created future complications. After that night, she seemed quieter. She stopped offering tea and avoided interrupting him during shifts. He felt relief but also an unfamiliar regret. Something sincere in her eyes lingered in his thoughts during bus rides home. The girls noticed his distraction during dinner. They whispered among themselves, plotting secret plans their father never imagined. One rainy weekend, they discovered the company address inside his lunch bag. Curiosity turned into a determined adventure while Daniel worked overtime. Near midnight, they convinced a taxi driver with saved coins. They arrived soaked, clutching an umbrella barely larger than themselves. The office security guard recognized them from stories Daniel told proudly. He allowed them inside after hearing they wanted to surprise their father. They reached the apartment door attached to executive offices upstairs. Inside, Ms. Harrington sat alone, reading by dim lamplight. A sudden knock echoed across the hallway. She opened cautiously, expecting security, and instead found 3 trembling children. They introduced themselves politely. Each girl held a small drawing colored with crayons and tiny hearts. They explained their father seemed sad lately. They believed she was the only adult who made him smile again. Confused and moved, she invited them inside. She prepared warm cocoa while listening carefully to their innocent worries. They admitted he avoided her because he feared losing people again. The girls wanted someone kind to stay in their lives permanently. Tears formed in her eyes unexpectedly. She realized Daniel's distance was protection, not rejection or disrespect. Moments later, Daniel rushed upstairs, alerted by the security guard. He burst through the door, terrified something happened to his daughters. Instead, he froze completely. The triplets sat happily beside Miss Harrington, laughing together over cookies. Silence filled the room heavily. He began apologizing repeatedly, embarrassed and afraid she would fire him immediately. She stopped him gently. She explained his daughters had come not to cause trouble, but to open a door he kept closed. The girls hugged his legs tightly. They asked why he never trusted someone who clearly cared about him. Daniel finally understood her feelings. She wasn't offering charity, but companionship, understanding, and patience he secretly needed. He sat down slowly. They spoke until sunrise painted windows gold. No contracts, no authority, only two lonely adults sharing fragile hopes. The triplets slept curled on the couch peacefully. Ms. Harrington covered them with blankets like a mother already. Weeks later, she visited their small apartment carrying groceries. For the first time since his wife's passing, he allowed himself to talk honestly about fear and grief. Neighbors whispered, surprised seeing the company owner climbing broken staircases without hesitation. Daniel no longer